Hello and blessings, beautiful souls. Sarava, and I share to you. How are you today? It is December, and as such, I now get to do my November favorites video. So if you would like to know what my November favorites were, then keep on watching. We are starting first off with decks, and the first deck that I would like to show you is the Magic of You Oracle by Fiona Horn. This oracle deck has been published by Rockpool. It is an Australian-made deck. It is not your typical size, I would say. It is borderless, it is gloss, and it is awesome. So the Magic of You Oracle is definitely an oracle deck that I would recommend for people with a more mystical mindset. It definitely does ignite a creative spark towards your practice if you are a witch or a mystical weaver of some description. And because of that, it can be quite igniting. I find it to be quite the igniting sort of a deck. I tend to use this deck specifically for myself. I haven't yet used it I might have used it for 1 or 2 clients, but I don't think that I used it for beyond that. No more than 2 clients at the very least, the very most, whatever. But I tend to use this more for myself, and I tend to reach for this deck when I am in a contemplative or combustive state of mind. And November has been quite a trying time. Issues with neighbors, one of them having gone to prison. I don't want to talk about it. It happened. It was ridiculous. It was violent. It was intense. And I was decompressing from that, and I went for this deck here, the Magic of You Oracle, because I wanted to be able to shift myself out of the dramatic slump of the real world that I found myself in and capture a more magical mindset. I wanted to feel something more around that situation, and I reached for the Magic of You Oracle. And I was so blown away by the medicine that it provided me during a time where I would have said that my emotions were in flux. And because of that, it sort of sparked a newfound respect for the Magic of You Oracle. And I have to say, I started off on a good foot with this oracle deck, despite the fact that one of the cards actually was damaged during the unboxing. Like, not because I was heavy-handed with it, but because I didn't think it was very well made. That aside though, it kind of sort of pulled me away from using the deck a little bit more, and I just recently really started to get back into it, and I absolutely love the voice of the deck. I love the way that it speaks its truth, it speaks its medicine. It's very soulful. It sort of sees through the debris and the walls that we put up around ourselves to protect our tender hearts, and it gets through that, you know, that brittle matter and straight to the core. And if you're ready to listen, it can lead you down endless pages of journaling and deep path workings and just beautiful experiences. But it is a deck that requires you to work with it. It's not that easy deck that's just you're gonna pull a card and it's gonna be, oh yeah, I know exactly what that means. Yeah, that's great. I'm just gonna jot down a few words. No, there is more to the deck in the guidebook, and the guidebook is very well written, I might say. Straight to the point, no sort of flowery prose, just straight to the point, great ideas, really unique perspectives, and something that gets you thinking. Let me give you an example. 34, I will need my glasses for this. I've taken off my glasses because it's very dark here today, and I needed it. So 34, Ubuntu. Compassion for others. What if you were solely defined by your compassion for others and the kindness you extended? How would your life look like? How would you conduct yourself if Ubuntu, humanity, was solely what you were noted for? Consider how your benevolence can extend to other species and creatures. This is a time to empathize with others' journeys and put yourself in their shoes. For better or for worse, the girl pierces her own eye with a leaf, and in doing so opens the window to her soul and learns from the challenges and gifts of others' journeys. She is peaceful and reflective. There is no pain, only greater understanding and greater wisdom. Now is the time to notice others' struggles and help them. Listening with compassion, patience can ease the suffering of another person. Be defined by your willingness to put others' needs before your own, just as you would appreciate they might do in your time of need. And then there is a ritual aspect, and in part 1, part 2, and there are activities that you can actively, pursue and engage in. And so really intense types of themes to be found within the Magic of You Oracle. And because of that, it gets you contemplating outside of your own head, outside of your own world. It makes everything bigger, in my opinion, and it's a beautiful deck to work with, and I had such a great time working with it. The next deck I'm going to show you is the Light Seers Tarot by Chris N. Donnelly, also the Sacred Creator brand. So the Light Seer Tarot, this is the indie version of the Light Seer Tarot. It has been picked up for mass market, but this is the indie version. It's beautifully kind of gilded in green, if you will. I didn't do that, folks. That's how it came. And so this beautiful, beautiful tarot deck has just captured my heart. I did a unboxing and full flip through of the deck for my card slinger tier. It is not live just yet. It's there. It's scheduled. It's waiting. They're waiting. They're excited. I also jumped on live on Facebook for my card slinger tier and did a ritual preparation of the deck so that I could start to work with it, because I had every intentions of putting the Light Seers Tarot to really good use. And I have now I've probably done about 10, 11, maybe 12 client readings with the deck, and I have found my place with it. I have found my rhythm. I have found my stride with it. So this is a beautifully illustrated, beautifully colorful deck. When you lay the cards out on your altar space or your reading table, whatever it is that you personally use, you just feel like a rainbow of just brilliance has burst open and onto the surface in front of you. And it's very dazzling. And then when you allow your eyes to focus on the individual cards, what these cards are, you start to see that there are layers upon layers upon layers. The imagery is beautiful. It's fluid. It's colorful. It contains this sense of melody and flow to it. It feels like music in water. It is deeply feminine, and I have just absolutely loved working with the deck. And so the Light Seers is definitely a deck that comes to the forefront of tarot with a more creative edge to it. I find that its brilliant color palette sort of ignites the desire to create, and it follows on with the Sacred Creator Oracle theme, which is igniting that creative rebellion inside each and every one of us and allowing us to connect with our own muses and to put forth that which is soulfully beautiful and belongs to us out into the world so that others may enjoy. It's kind of like this call to action to paint the world beautiful, and I love it. When I unboxed the deck, I looked at it and I'm like, wow, like every card was just more beautiful than the next card, and more beautiful than the next card, and more beautiful than the next card. And I was like, my gosh, there was honestly only maybe 4 images in this whole deck that I thought were just okay. The rest I was just absolutely floored by. And I really liked the way she approached the construction of a deck that gave a nod to the Rider-Waite-Smith system, but also stood on its own 2 feet and was something beautiful and unique, and just not the same old rehashing of, the Rider-Waite-Smith images, because I think that can get a little bit tired. Yes, there was a nod to the Rider-Waite-Smith here, but it wasn't so obvious. And I've got to say that here, 5 of Pentacles, there's the door, there's the 5 Pentacles, there's the lock, there's the key, there's the woman mourning. So you have this I don't know, it was just such a beautiful deck to work with, and I'd had such a nice time with it. It made me happy. It made me happy as a reader to work with such a beautiful deck and to pull out its voice, to pull out its wisdom. I would say that this one is an all-rounder, absolutely. And for those who like the details, it is green edged, so beautifully green edged. And it is 400 GSM cardstock, matte finish, borderless. The backing of the deck looks like this, and it is stunning to work with. It is stunning to flick through, to peruse, to muse over. You can journey with these cards, journal with these cards, meditate on these cards. You can read just about any question. I haven't put it through the entire test. I haven't read sort of political questions with this deck, but I have done the love reading, I've done the spirituality, I've done the academia, I've done the new year, I've done, you know, so many other themes with the Light Seers Tarot, and I'm just convinced that it is an all-rounder, and it's so good. It is so good. It is hands down one of my new favorites, I must say. And I have yet to unbox the Muses Tarot, but I just want to savor my moments, my good moments, my initial, you know, early perceptions of the deck for the time being before I move on to another one, because I can tell that the Muses is going to be pretty damn good as well. So that was the Light Seer Tarot by Chris Ann. And Chris Ann, if you don't know, is of the Sacred Creator brand. She did the Sacred Creator Oracle, yes, which was also a lovely deck, and one that I tend to take on retreat with me, and the ladies love it. So the last deck that I'm going to show you today is an oldie but a goldie, and one that I find myself reaching for every year for whatever reason, folks, and that is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Moseley. Now, the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Moseley is a US Game Systems published deck. It is not a borderless deck, so it has a light border, but it sort of matches well with the theme. And one thing that I would say is that this is a semi-gloss, yes. It's not that high sheen, high shine, glossy. It is semi-gloss. It's kind of got a waxy feel to it. So I just love this deck. I mean, I keep coming back to it time and time again, and I've got to say that Victoria Moseley does such a wonderful job of, you know, the deck and the themes. The story, I've told it before, but basically Victoria Moseley wanders into a vintage shop, you know, sort of going through the old postcards, and found a bunch of old vintage postcards and decided to make something of it, and what she made was the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. There is a uniquely feminine element to this deck, and one that sort of gives a nod to goddess archetypes, and I say this because I recall rather vividly one of the first experiences that I had with the Vintage Wisdom Oracle was seeing this image and feeling that it captured Athena vibes, and I thought, wow, this really sort of brings to my mind goddess Athena. And when I glanced at the guidebook, sure enough, it had been modeled on Athena's archetypal energies as perceived by the creator. And so I was just really taken aback. I find the keywords like gratitude really simple. They're simple. There's nothing sort of profoundly perplexing about the keyword arrangements. And I've got to say, the way that I love to use this is to tie off a reading itchy nose. I'll do a full tarot reading, and then I'll tie it off in the end with the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, and it just finishes things off really nicely. I've been alternating between the Vintage Wisdom Oracle and the Maiden Oracle by Layla and Olive, and I've recently spoken about the Maiden Oracle, but they're the two Oracle decks that I have on my table right now, and I have been using pretty regularly. And so I'm just loving it. I'm loving the experience of reconnecting with a deck. I really love going through my shelves and shopping my shelves and, you know, just connecting with old favorites and bringing about, you know, the awesome interactions that we can have with our old favorites. So that is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle by Victoria Mosley, and that finishes off the deck portion of this favorites video. Now we find ourselves in the realm of books, but before I start talking about specific books, I want to talk about my bookmark. Yes, this is my beautiful little bookmark. I spent many years feeling like bookmarks, I was cursed when it came to bookmarks, and then I got a beautiful bookmark in the Witch's box, and their first book subscription box came with this beautiful black bookmark which I used as a trial, and I used it so much it went through a couple of books with me and then ended up quite creased and bent because I keep putting my books in my handbag. Of course, the bookmark sticks out and it's creased quite a number of times, and that made me sad. So I went to Dymocks, which is my sort of local bookstore in Hobart City, and I saw this one here and I just kind of grabbed it on a whim. I didn't sort of study it too hard, and I thought it feels strong, it feels good. It's got a nice little bead for all the purple lovers out there. There's a little something there for you. And I've just been using it and I really like it. And for some reason, having a beautiful bookmark, it makes me feel good when I sort of tuck it into a good book. And I don't know, I've just started to really like it. So I've gone and I've purchased a few more, and I've purchased some really interesting kind of witchy bookmarks for my book club, because I'm doing little prize giveaways for book club over there, and I wanted to get some really good sort of bookish things to be able to gift away to book club members who are participating in some of the really fun challenges that we've got over there. So, bookmarks. What do you use to mark the pages of your books? Because honestly, for the longest time, and I'm talking about years and years and years and years, I used receipts. Just paper receipts to mark my books, and look at how far I've come now. Anyway, we're moving away from bookmarks I should say, and into books. So I have read so many books in the month of November, so many. I finished Children of the Blood and Bone. I think I read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I also read something else. I read something else anyway. And I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and this is a young adult fiction book that just did not make sense to me at all. Why am I showing you this? Because I was invested in the story, not the characters. Because she's supposed to be an assassin, and she is just not an assassin in this book. I just don't understand why. Why did they do that? Why did they paint her as this epic, renowned assassin and then just nothing? Like, it really is, the whole book stands upon the back of her reputation as an assassin rather than her actively pursuing the art of the assassin. She doesn't behave like an assassin. She doesn't do anything assassin-wise, really. Not to any great degree, to the point where the whole story should have been revolved around her being an assassin. It just didn't hold up in my books. I'm angry about it, put it that way. But I am invested in the story enough to have purchased the next book, and I feel ashamed for having done so, because I gave this book maybe 1 star, maybe 2 star. I don't know what I gave it, but I was angry. But at the end, I was like, surely, I hold hopes that they've actively set this book up to be something more explosive in the series, because it's quite a long series from what I hear. There are many, many other books, and I was like, okay, I'll give you a second go. I'll give you a second chance is the word that I'm looking for, and see where it takes me. But I'm not in a hurry to read the next book. So I bounced off that stupid book and into this amazing book, Sky in the Deep. Oh my God. This book is everything. The first couple of pages will whisk you away on an epic battlefield with a young warrior-ess who is a Viking, and she's fighting with her clansmen, and that's how the story starts, and it's epic, and your heart is in your throat. You can feel it. Like, you can feel the battle, the heat of the battle. You can follow her through, and gosh, she's a tough little thing. She is a tough, tough little thing, raised in that sort of warrior mindset by warriors, and just that time, that rugged time of battle and conflict and blood feuds and you name it. And the story revolves around a girl who is in the midst of battle and sees her brother. Not a big deal, however, except for the fact that her brother had died 5 years ago. And she doesn't know whether or not she's just seen a ghost or if she's actually seen her brother. She so believes that she's seen her brother, to the point where when she tells her father, he believes that their God has blessed her in this battle, and the news travels and it's seen as like a proper blessing, and that, you know, their God has spoken directly to this woman, and that's how the story sort of kicks off. But then it evolves into being this epic journey. And the themes in this story, this is supposed to be a young adult fiction, but I would not classify this as a young adult fiction, because the way that I felt reading the book was so intense. The themes explored are very mature, and the writing style is very beautiful. It's very simple. It's not very flowery. The world building is effortless, and the atmosphere in the book itself, it just captivates you. When they talk of the cold, you feel that cold. You just feel it in your bones. When you talk of the fight, when they talk of that, you know, the epic clashes, the blood feuds, the warrior's way, you feel it inside of you. And the themes that emerged, the themes of loss, the themes of enemies, the themes of blood feud, the enemies to lovers trope, which was done so well, because there is a romance element to this book, but because it was done so subtly, it made that romance so much more powerful. It wasn't a gushy romance by any stretch of the imagination. It was born out of something real. The author captured something so beautifully real. And this, you follow the story of this young woman and her struggles with herself, her struggles with her upbringing, with what she's been taught, with her lifestyle as a, you know, she's a hardened warrior, and every aspect of who she is, her inner monologue, her behavior reflects what the author describes to be that, you know, that hardened warrior. And oh my God, it was so good. It was so, so good. I honestly loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I was reeling from it. I finished it yesterday. I slept. I woke up and I was still thinking about it, and I was like, I want to know if she's done a sequel to this. There is another Sky in the Deep book, but it doesn't follow this story, at least not from what I can tell from the synopsis that is on Goodreads, so I was a bit sad about that. But this is a beautiful standalone, and I would highly, highly recommend it to anybody who loved the Vikings series and who likes just something a bit more intense, and loved it. I just absolutely loved it, and I felt like this book was just everything I never knew that I needed. I was so invested in the character. I cried. I clenched my fists. I held myself taut with anticipation. I was shivering with anxiety in some of the moments. Like, I had a visceral experience with this book, and I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I'm trying to get Alora to read it so that I can decompress to her. She needs to read this. Alora, you need to read this. Okay, well, books aside, we are now in the realm of candles, and I'm holding here in my hand the only candle that really held up for me in the month of November. It is artificially fragranced, which is just not my favorite thing. However, the fragrance in this is about as close to delicious as you can get. It's so good, but it's artificial, and I feel angry with myself for liking this artificial fragrance. I'm not typically into buying fancy candles for my craft. However, I was just at my wit's end. Every candle that I acquired just burnt out before my very eyes so fast, or didn't burn properly. I went through the trouble of buying a pillar candle, a purple pillar candle. Let me hold this up for you. This is not a made up story, right? See this beautiful thing here? It is supposed to be, let's get you focusing. It is supposed to be a working candle. However, it has tunneled so bad and cracked, and it doesn't burn even, and it doesn't do what I need it to do. It doesn't behave like a good quality candle, which is shocking because I paid quite a bit of money for it. So I found myself in Dusk. This is by Dusk. There's my ring light, and the reason why I'm not wearing my glasses. Okay, so that is Dusk. And this is a soy candle. I did fix it, and this one here is what I use for when I'm doing my Coven live videos, and I open up ritual space when we're doing our Coven lives for Patreon, and I like to create that nice little ritual experience so that we can, you know, have our digital interactions under that umbrella of ritual. And this has been the candle that has held up for me. It burns for it's supposed to burn for 90 hours, and I was looking for a long burning candle because they just haven't been burning for that long. And I've got to say, never before have I missed those candle stores overseas as much as I miss them at the moment, because I am going through candles at a rapid rate, and as soon as I light them, they are gone. That's how quickly they are burning. And so I needed something that was going to have a bit of longevity. And so I went for something totally left of field for me personally, and it's treating me well, put it that way. Its cousin didn't treat me very well at all. I found it was not burning at all. I didn't even trim the wick, so it had no excuse. And I had to scoop out soy wax in order to help it to breathe, to help the wick and the flame to breathe. And you know, when you spend that much money on a candle, you don't want to have to work on it so that it does its job. You just don't. It's annoying. Anyway, it's annoying. So, moving away from that, I want to show you the one spray this month that has rocked my world. And it is Serenity, and it is by the Witch's Moon. So, Serenity is an aura spray, and it does what it's supposed to do. When you are not in the mood to adult, when you're decompressing from divination sessions or spirit sessions, where you're coming at your altar and you just want to be fresh of mind so that you can perform whatever tasks you've gone there to do well. And so that's where I pull in Serenity. So lately, because I've been doing quite a few readings, because it is that time of the year and I get a lot of New Year readings, I have been using Serenity as an aura spray, as a personal preparation, as part of my metaphysical maintenance before every one of my client sessions. And so I find myself and on days where I just feel like I need a little extra lift, I will use it as well. I can see myself going through this one pretty damn quickly at the rate that I am using it, and I love it. The smell is fresh. It's sort of like, it's a breath of fresh air. It's very awakening. And when you spray it around you like you are supposed to, then it kind of brushes your subtle body in a way that makes you feel a little bit more sparkly, if that makes sense. So that is Serenity Aura Spray by the Witch's Moon. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up for that one. Very, very much in love with it and have been using it on a regular basis. I very much doubt that that's going to last through the end of my New Year reading season. So I don't know what I'm going to do after that. So I'm about to show you one of the oils that has really captured my heart, and that is the Abramelin Oil by Juniper Moon Apothecary. Now, I love Juniper Moon Apothecary. I think that that woman does incredible work, and I will continually support her because she is good at what she does. Plain and simple. I don't need to gush about it. She's just good at what she does. And I know that when I go to her, I can get what I want, and it's good quality. So there you have it. The Abramelin Oil, it has been my ritual tool anointing oil, and I have used it on decks. I've used it on candles. I've used it on fetishes. I've used it on statuary. I've used it on crystals. I've used it on charms. I've used it on the surface of my altar. I've used it on myself. I have used it in so many different ways, and I have been infinitely impressed with it. So I'm just continuously impressed. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful oil with a really great energy to it. And I have found that when I ritually prepare specifically a tarot deck with this bad boy, that tarot deck becomes something extra. I have the best time with the tarot decks that have met this oil. So the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I'm still using, it's still on my altar. I'm still using it, but I showed it in my last favorite. So I thought, no, I better not double up, but I'm still having a good time with it. I prepared that with Abramelin. The Magic of You, which I showed before, I prepared that with Abramelin. The Light Seers Tarot, I prepared that with Abramelin. My Spirit Work stones, my pendulum, my altar, they're all prepared with this. And there is no way that I would put this oil on my beautiful Odisha statues if I didn't 100% believe that I was giving them something incredible. So I am in love with this oil, and I don't know how I'm going to go without it. So as soon as I even get halfway with this bad boy, and you don't need a lot because it is an oil, it comes with a beautiful little dropper. You need but one tiny little drop, like there. That drop right, I'm not doing anything, it's just falling out on its own. You just need one tiny little drop, so a little goes a long way. It smells, oh, it smells like cinnamon, sweet cinnamon buns, if you will. And I love it. It's scrumptious and it's effective and it's beautiful. So that is Abramelin Oil by Juniper Moon Apothecary. And folks, that is the end of my favorites. It was a short list of favorites this month. I did work with quite a few things, and I wanted to show my glasses, which are over here. These are my new glasses. After I had eye surgery, I needed to have new glasses, and these are my new glasses, and I quite enjoy them. They are lovely. And my journal, my Hobonichi journal, which is somewhere over there. I didn't want to get it because it's not a pretty journal. I mean, I haven't made it pretty. It's a lovely journal, don't get me wrong. But I haven't personally gone out of my way to make it pretty. What I have done is use it effectively for the first time in 4 years. I went and ordered my next year's Hobonichi, and it has arrived, and I'm so excited because I finally found my stride with a planner. And if you are a planner person, you'll know just what I mean. It takes you time. It takes you time to sort of build up a rapport with your planner. How are you going to use it? What's the most effective methods? And I'm not the most creative planner out there by any stretch of the imagination. This is a business planner for me. This is what I use to keep a track of all of my videos, all of my posts, all of my work stuff, my readings, my Patreon content, my YouTube content, everything that I do for work. In that way, I put in these journals. And because it is divided up the way that it is, I have found my place with it. I've just found a way to use it that works for me, and I've found a use for highlighters that really is effective. And this idea of color coding is suddenly something that I'm very much into. And so I'm all about strategizing, planning, and organizing. And because I have been doing that more and more towards the end of the year, I have found that my productivity has increased quite a bit, and I'm having a really good time. So I just wanted to honorably mention my planner that I haven't shown you. It's over there somewhere, because it deserves it, because I really found myself in November, and I'm strong in the start of December with this. So I've scheduled a lot of things, and I've been able to write everything in that I have scheduled and look at my output of work and just feel good about what it is that I've done, and understand that I'm ahead of my tasks rather than behind, and it makes me feel a lot more calm. It takes the anxiety out of the process for me, and I'm just having a really good time with it. So that is the end of my November favorites video. Done without my glasses. My eyes are bleeding right now, but I wanted to use my ring light. It's raining outside. It's very dark in here, so I had to do what I had to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this November favorites, and I would like to ask you if there's anything that you have personally used throughout the month of November that really did rock your world. Was there a great crystal, a good book, some nice oils? Was there a ritual that you did? Did you make a really awesome something in the month of November and just, you know, loved it with all of your heart? So let me know, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for hanging out with me, beautiful souls, and take care. Mwah!